Welcoming our guest for this hour, joining us, trial attorney and law professor Joe Richardson. Joe, great to see you. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us here on the program. One of the things I want to talk to you about is this idea of this whole dog bite science. It's one of those things where defense attorneys, they'll use it in civil court. You see it from time to time in criminal court. But I've always thought of it as a bit of a junk science, not something that there's a lot to go on, and I think you're seeing that play out here. So I wonder, in your mind, was this a bit of a gamble by the defense?
Joe Richardson, civil rights attorney at McHugh Law Group, getting into it once again, breaking it down, the law and common sense.
I don't think there's any doubt about the fact that it was a gamble. To your point, to some people, it is junk science. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, now we're having this whole big discussion, about DNA. When prosecution says what they say, oh my God, let's do a mistrial. They don't. And so then now on this recross, he's just going. The puncture bites, no punctures, no lacerations, and things like that. So why are we talking about the possibility of there being a dog bite at all? So there's no doubt that it is it's a little bit of a Hail Mary, which I don't really understand, because I think that they have plenty of reasons why they could actually win this case straight up without advancing this theory that they really don't have a whole lot of proof for, and which really doesn't necessarily jive with everyone's clearest notions of common sense.
Dr. Russell, I am re-handing you this letter from Dr. Walsh, and what I am going to do, and you just tell me if I do it correctly, I'm just going to read 2 paragraphs, okay? And you just tell me if I'm reading it correctly. In totality, the injuries documented in the autopsy report and photographs are non-specific and may be the result of a variety of different mechanisms. No additional information was provided regarding the possible circumstances or events surrounding the death. The absence of additional information prohibits the attribution of injuries and contribution of findings to a specific underlying cause of death. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you, Dr. Russell.
All right, Dr. Russell, you are all set.
Thank you.
Let's bring back in trial attorney and law professor Joe Richardson. What rating do you give her, Joe? 2 days on the stand, cross, redirect, recross, redirect. What's going to stick in the minds of this jury?
A whole lot of redirecting. And I think the problem she had, I give her a C. I'm not saying that she's not competent, but you've really got to be able to come across as the things that we didn't pay attention to, here's why we didn't pay attention to them. She goes out of her way to say, well, it doesn't have to have every characteristic of a dog bite for it to be a dog bite. Okay, do you have to have any characteristics? Because to the extent that maybe she talked about certain characteristics that it had, they did such an effective job on cross talking about the things that they didn't have. I'm not sure how well the jury's going to understand where the characteristics of the dog bite actually come in. So in any time you got to redirect twice, I think it's a serious problem.
Yeah, and I feel like they undermined her testimony so much on that recross and the cross that I think it was a wash. I don't think she was very effective this time around. I thought she was effective the first time, but not this time. So the question for you, Joe, is where does the defense go as they move forward in their case? Do they need to dig deep into the conspiracy? They weren't allowed to talk much about it in opening, so not sure the jury are waiting on that, but do they need to call Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, to get them in to talk about some of the weird things that went on that night to sort of build this idea that there was this conspiracy, or are they okay sitting on what we've heard about Proctor?
I would have said that they were okay prior to this lady testifying. I think they kind of took it into another direction. So could it be that they could get a couple of the other guys in to talk about some of the things that are conspiracy-ish or whatever else? The things that help them really undermine what we see are the weaknesses in the plaintiff's case, in the prosecutor's case. The things that help them directly undermine their presentation, that's okay. I think that's good. But going into a lot of these other directions, they can't afford to do another presentation where they have somebody else come in and bring something that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So they got to be really geared by and guided by what they want to undermine with the prosecution, as opposed to a theory that you're just throwing up against the wall.